Greetings, mortals! Brimthen Babbles here, and today we are back with another Brimthen's Babbles. Today's episode is with our good friend o7Ace. We'll be calling him Ace for short. It's a recently changed name. He used to go by Foxtrot. Really good friend in the community, and I'm gonna lead it off with a little bit of a history lesson, because he said he's heard me say this before, but I really do mean it. In the almost year that we've known each other, I genuinely have been proud watching you grow, both as a person and as slowly getting into content creation. When we first met, it was on a little bit of rocky terms, as you know, and you know, there was some events that happened between you and your friends that I felt terrible about, and genuinely at the very start, I had an opinion of you because of how your friends were being, and I am so glad to say that opinion was not who you were. You quickly proved me wrong, and we immediately started a wonderful friendship that has been going on almost probably in the next 3 or so months will be a year, and I have been very proud to watch you kind of grow and in a very mature way during this time, and I gladly welcome you over here to the podcast. So welcome here, o7Ace.
Howdy.
Tell us a little bit about your plans and what you're planning on doing on Twitch and those kind of things, and just give us a little bit about yourself.
So I got a whole bunch of plans I want to do on Twitch. Ideally in the end game, I want this to be my full-time job, because I've worked some volunteer jobs before, and I cannot do an office job. I know that for sure. And I just want to chill around and make someone's day, so that's why I'm on Twitch. And I don't really know what else to say.
Hey, I understand that, man. Twitch is one of those things that a lot of people try to get into. And, you know, I think you got the personality for it. I think once you can kind of sink your teeth properly into it like you're wanting to do, I think you're going to go far with it. Just setting your mind to it and being able to, you know, take the time and do it. The hardest part is always taking those first steps, is what I always tell small streamers. And you can always get by with Twitch streaming on a lot cheaper budget, a lot cheaper than what I'm trying to do at the end of the day. You really don't need to sprint to the finish line as much as just kind of jog there. And I think you can do it. I really do, man.
Thank you for that. I'm doing my best. I'm learning from your example. And currently I haven't been streaming so often because school has been very interesting in terms of homework. So I've had maybe 15 minutes of free time every night, so it's not enough time to go. I have no doubt. I used to juggle college and working at the same time, and I do not miss those days because they always got in the way of my hobbies and the stuff that I actually wanted to do. Yeah.
But me and you have had some good times so far. We've been together on multiple different projects. You know, we did a little bit of Warhammer there. You were in the KFX SMP, which I still say to this day was a semi-failure, mostly on my own part of things. Won't get into a lot of details on it, but I'm telling you, even if it was like that, I met some really cool people out of it. Like I wouldn't change it for the world, just because I was able to meet you and so many other people on it. But so far, these journeys that we've taken together have been just tremendously fun.
I would agree, and I would say that the KFX SMP was not actually a failure because of how many people it helped, and we were able to paint a very interesting story for what we had. You know, we did the best of what we had, and you're sure towards the end it started losing popularity, but up until that point it was a good story.
Yeah, the issue I had, I didn't have time to put as much effort into it as I'd wanted, and between losing my job and having to kind of manage the whole thing, you know, it ended up falling on the shoulders of just a few people, and that wasn't really fair to them, because we had 30 people and only like 3-4 were really pushing everything that the whole goal was. We really needed like at least 10 people that was working together really hard on it, because we needed people that were willing to build together to set up, you know, set pieces and stuff like that. We just didn't really have it. Because poor Focal ended up spending multiple days working on a project alone.
Yeah, that project, that dungeon was incredible. It was insane.
Oh yeah.
Hats off to him.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
But without it, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met Focal. I wouldn't have met many of the people that are in this community so far. So I think it's worth it at the very least on that part.
Yep. Well, functionally, it didn't do as well. It didn't explode. It gave us a nice community of streamers that want to help each other. It's a nice community.
Yeah, and I think the hardcore server that we're in is doing a lot better, because there's not a lot of expectations behind it. Anybody can just kind of go in there and build something and work on something, and it'll be all right. You know, it's a lot more relaxed despite being pseudo hardcore. You know.
Yeah, the KFX system be required to go into a project. You had to coordinate with other players. You had to make story. You had to document it. It was fun, but it was hard work because some people didn't just have the motivation to do it. But
oh yeah. Well, speaking on streaming things, how is your setup going so far? What's your plans right now? What are you working on?
So currently, I'm taking a break from streaming because a couple of buddies of mine have basically inducted me into doing airsoft with them, because one of them is a content creator on YouTube, and he's like, "Hey, I need a group of buddies. So if you wouldn't mind for a couple months, can you help me out growing?" And I was like, sure. So I've kind of halted my progression of my like streaming. I was going to buy a second computer for streaming, but I diverted all the money I was going to do that into buying a whole bunch of airsoft stuff so I could, you know, play with him. And so far it's going pretty good, but right now my streaming setup is decent. I can do some streams. It's fun. Got my stream deck, got 2 monitors. I'm good.
Oh yeah, and like I said, you can do a lot with a little. Like, you don't necessarily have to upgrade and get to that to where you have such a complicated setup. There's a lot of things I would have done with my setup that I would have saved money, time, energy on, but I kind of went into this entirely blind and learned everything on my own. So I had to learn some things the hard way, and sometimes the hard way is also expensive.
Yep.
Like, in your case, you got to kind of glean off of me a cheaper microphone option.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for that, because looking back at my old, I have probably 300 gigabytes of old, like, video footage, where I would try to make, like, really crappy videos on, like, Slither.io and stuff with my old Yeti microphone. And, yeah, that was atrocious. It's like a microwave for a microphone. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. What you got now is comparable to what I have right here. It's just you got to set it up correctly to get it there, but a fraction of the price, easily a fourth. That the ZDM1, if anybody is out there that's looking to start a YouTube channel, a Twitch, or whatever, and is looking for a mic, for $125, you can get audio that sounds like mine right here, which is about $1,000 setup or more. For $125, it's the ZDM1 by Zoom and the Behringer X502 USB. Make sure it's the USB edition. There is a non-USB edition. Make sure to get the USB edition. Those are something that I suggest to any small streamer, because you can instantly get that podcast beautiful sound from that, because the Behringer mixers, they have those British EQs, and then that ZDM1 is just some sort of weird Chinese made mic, and while I don't like that necessarily, it is basically a Shure SM7B for $80, and that just blew my mind when I got it. I've bought 4 of them for D&D reasons. Yeah. So
it is a very good microphone.
oh yeah,
it saved my butt. I was gonna spend a whole bunch of money on basically your exact microphone setup, but then you came in like Superman and told me, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have an alternative.
Oh yeah. And that's why one of my panels down below is like my PC setup. You don't need any of this. Get these instead. Like, like it's immediately not, you know.
Yep.
And you know, I wish I went that route a lot earlier. There's a lot of things that's like that. And what a lot of people don't know about my setup is just what the camera sees looks nice. Like everything else is like bed sheets, folding tables, and duct tape and styrofoam and stuff. Like nothing in this room really looks good except for this one corner that I built. There's no way I could turn my camera around and show how nice it looks because nothing else looks nice here.
The main reason I don't actually have my camera on right now is because I have a sheet over my gaming setup because my office I'm in right now has terrible sound. So I just have a sheet over my microphone and my monitors.
Man, and it makes a difference though. If you use that sheet, like if you put it up like somewhere around in front of you, it will dampen noise just like foam or anything else would be. There's a lot of ways to do sound dampening that, you know, without spending a bunch of money on like super expensive foam.
Speaking of foam, I think Corsair made it. It's gaming foam that's like 600. I think it's $160 for like 5 squares, but they have RGB in it.
That is goofy. I definitely wouldn't go that direction.
It's funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that's been trying to kind of push towards the small streamer dream by coming up with a product that is a bit more premium, but really you could find cheaper elsewhere.
Like, for example, the Stream Deck, it's so expensive for how small it is.
The Stream Deck is one of the few objects that I really wouldn't skimp on. I swear by mine, but it's because of how much I do with mine. I use it for changing the colors of the lights. It does everything for my stream. And I recognize I could do it with, you know, one of those USB pads where it's just like a small keyboard or whatever. But with the Stream Deck, I can at least color code and name the buttons so that it's easier for my eyes to do it, because I'm not good at memorizing. I tried to do music on a MIDI board and something about the buttons not really being labeled hurt me on trying to learn how to use it. So I need a little bit of a labeling system, which the Stream Deck provides for me.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. Like it's vital for streaming because now I don't have to tab out of every single game. Like for Warhammer, during a couple of streams where I streamed like the Warhammer games, I would tab out to switch from like my Be Right Back screen to my live screen, and my game would crash.
Yeah.
So
there's
I haven't played it recently, but
yeah, there are some games like that will crash if you leave out of them. So it's good to just be able to just play the game and push buttons.
Speaking of games that crash, I've wanted to play Total War Napoleon on stream so many times, but that game is held together by 2 potatoes and like a piece of chewing gum. And if I try to stream it, it will explode. I love the game so much.
That's one of those games that you have the 2 PCs set up so that it's a little bit easier on the streaming side, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, I am super glad that I started my streaming career with the 2 PCs set up, because it has made things so much easier to manage. There's a lot of things that are like almost vital for my setup, but I wouldn't need if I was doing other things. Like if I wasn't doing D&D or if I wasn't doing Star Citizen, I wouldn't need a lot of the things that I have to use basically.
Yeah, like for different types of streamers, you can have different types of things. Like for me, I'm kind of doing like a specifically gaming focus thing, while you're doing D&D and you're doing other stuff. My whole setup is specifically centered on gaming because that's what I love doing. You know?
Oh yeah, yeah. And
it's everything's towards the game for me.
Oh yeah, and that's the way to go, man. Like especially if like So the other thing about small time streaming, it's hard to talk about whether you should niche or stay in the variety sphere. If you niche, there's a chance that you can blow up a lot faster because it's something that, you know, you find one person and they'll keep watching that similar stuff. But for me, you know, I don't want to be locked into one game. Like even Dark Souls, I love Dark Souls and I could probably play Dark Souls forever, but back to back, it would grow old really fast for me. So I kind of have to be in a variety sphere and make my brand more about me rather than like my game or what it is.
Yeah, every single time I, you know, boot up a stream, I always think to myself, is this getting too repetitive? Because like there was a time where I only streamed Minecraft, and I got kind of terrified because there was a buddy of mine who like uploaded a bunch of TF2 videos and got a couple thousand subscribers, but then he stopped doing TF2 and his community just died because he got himself in that niche of only playing TF2. And I don't want to lock myself into that. I want to play different games. Like I played 50 different games and I'm terrible at all of them except for one, which is like I'm decent at Minecraft.
The way I like to put it is to make series that you know will end up having an ending. So like with Minecraft, getting to a certain point on Minecraft is when it would end, you know what I mean? Always having the end kind of in mind for a series, and then it doesn't really matter how many episodes or how often you do it. You know, if you did 10 or 15 Minecraft streams back to back, it's not going to be too repetitive, assuming that it does end and that you are reaching towards an end. Like, for example, I did FNAF Security Breach recently, and I think I did it back to back for maybe 5, 6, 7 streams. But it has an ending. It's something that, you know, I won't go back to. It's already a done series, already up on YouTube type deal, you know. That keeps you from being repetitive while still being able to like do the same thing for a while over and over.
Yeah. That's why I think Minecraft's a good game for early streamers, because it's really hard to do something repetitive in Minecraft because, you know, you kind of go up the ladder. You go from iron to diamond to working towards netherite. You know, you're always doing something. You're never just sitting there idle.
Yep. And it's really quick, even if you haven't watched the first episode, to jump into Minecraft and know exactly where they're at, because you can go, oh, he's got diamond tools, but he's got iron armor, so he's like in the process of finding more diamonds. They're probably not got the right enchantments just yet. You know, you immediately know kind of where someone's at in the series with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I think Minecraft is. I can't tell if it's on purpose or it's incidental. It's almost, I don't want to say a perfect game, but the design that it's made is very well, because there's no like leveling. Well, there is leveling, but it's not crucial to the game. There's like gear leveling. There's no like, oh, you have to get this many XP levels to equip diamond gear. It's just if you have diamonds, you can equip it. And I think that's, for a game that they almost went down that route. Actually, I remember there was a snapshot where it almost went down. You have to have a certain amount of attack and defense, but then they scrapped it. It's very good for anyone can understand Minecraft. You don't have to know gaming. You just have to know basic Minecraft, and you can understand it all the way up. It's just copy and paste itself.
And funny enough, that's exactly how Dark Souls is, despite being a bit of a skill game where you got to plan your way of going through things. But like the progress of it, like if I saw somebody, no matter where they're at, they could be in Undeadburg, the very, very, very early part of the game. But if I see them with certain items or a +10 weapon, then I know where they've been, because there's only certain places in the game that you can go to get those things. So you immediately find out quickly, you know, what they've been through and what their scenario is.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of put into words exactly how it feels. Just you know exactly what they've been doing. Like you play Minecraft, you know this dude has gone mining for 15 minutes. He's got a couple of diamonds, got mostly iron, but you know he's about to enter the mid game. Exactly.
Speaking on Dark Souls, and I have said this about you to other people as well as to you. You started out on Dark Souls almost like a natural. When I was watching you, I genuinely wholeheartedly mean this, because I've watched a ton of people play Dark Souls. I've trained people. I've bought it for so many different people to play the game. But watching you got almost all the way up to the gargoyles, and you were a natural. You were blazing through the game, like way above average, but then you just blew steam when you started to die. As soon as you hit your like first little wall, you blew all of your endurance and all of it into this like, well, I'm dying, and started kind of falling apart on it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but like I said to you at the start of it, never give up. There's just something different you have to do. You got to learn the new dance. It's all about dancing. And when you're early and you're new at the game, you're stepping on your opponent's feet and it's causing you to die. But when the beat changes up, when the dance starts to change up, you kind of have to mold yourself and learn the dance as you go. So you're going to die a few times. Never get discouraged.
Yeah. There are a lot of games you can tell good game design by. I have an example of that for my own Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. It has kind of similar melee mechanics to Dark Souls, but not exactly. But there are some parts of the game that are really hard, but because of the gameplay and how it works and how satisfying the game is to play, you want to come back, you want to beat this level. It's not like, I'm stuck here and it sucks. It's I need to beat this boss so I can go to the next boss so I can beat that and have some fun and get some good loot. Like, that's good game design.
Oh yeah.
And Dark Souls has that, but
what makes Dark Souls, in my opinion, excel on the game design part of it is that struggle. Going into a boss not knowing what he's going to do, having to kind of learn his pattern. It takes a couple of deaths to figure out his moveset, and then you weave in and out of those attacks, weave in and out of those whatever it's doing, and you learn that dance and then you triumph on it. I've always given it to that topic of just, it is frustrating sometimes to die, but when you finally overcome that hurdle, the feeling is just so much more visceral. And I talked about it in the Nance podcast a little bit, but like with Skyrim, I was never proud of myself for killing a dragon. It was epic, it was thematic, it was neat to bring it out of the sky and fight it that way. But once it died, I just kind of went, I killed a dragon. There wasn't really a dance with it. It didn't move around a lot. It was very static once it got onto the ground. With Dark Souls, every single boss, minus Pinwheel, is so unique that it feels just, I don't know how to really put it except that it's unique in a way that feels really good when you finally get past that challenge.
Yeah, I understand what you mean by that. It's just, you gotta. I'm really bad with words. Let me just say that right now. I'm terrible with words.
It's okay, man. Do the best.
English is not a good language for me because I don't know any other languages.
Hey, you are safe in this area to fumble around. Nobody is going to judge you on any of the ways that you express things, because I do myself that way.
I get what you mean by the game design of Dark Souls is very, it's a good game. It's a very good game. So you can really tell that the developers weren't doing this just as a job. They were pouring their heart and soul into trying to make the best game they possibly could. And they did. They made a very good game. They made a very solid, I think, was it 3 games in total? Yeah, it was 3 games.
Technically 5, but...
What?
There's Demon Souls, which is the spiritual parent of Dark Souls. And then there's Bloodborne, which is like an adjacent cousin of Dark Souls. They also made Sekiro, but it's not really a Souls. It's not really the same game at all. The main 5 is Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and then Bloodborne.
Pug just sent me a text saying, I will judge you. So, to Pug watching, I will judge you too.
Oh, Lord. But anyway, I do hope that you reignite that series. It was super fun watching you, and I think it would be super fun to watch you finally beat that game.
I definitely will. I'm going to make that promise. Whenever I have enough free time, I will pick back up some Dark Souls, and I'm going to get as far as I can. But right now, school is being a bit much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to juggle school. I'm trying to juggle... recently my grandmother died, so I'm having to juggle that. I'm having to juggle a whole bunch of stuff. It's like a circus. And I'm trying to find a place to put streaming in all this.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for your loss, man. We talked about that a little bit in private as well. But I think, and I've said this to several different people, and I'm slightly saying this to TMA, people that get discouraged easily or have a little bit of confident issues, if you beat Dark Souls, it will change vastly. Like, your first playthrough of Dark Souls is honestly, in my opinion, a really quick way to gain confidence, determination, persistence. You know, it really does kind of alter somebody in a way because, you know, everybody that I've shown the game that has beaten it has came out of that game with new skills that they've brought into other games. They've come out of it a completely different style of gamer because it is this almost spiritual journey in a little bit of a way, even though I'm putting a little bit too much emphasis on it. It really does kind of teach patience and determination where you don't get that out of any other games out there. Like, with other games, you just run in, kill stuff, and it's over. And Dark Souls tells you, hey, slow down a little bit. Smell the roses. You know, if you don't, we're going to slap you on your butt a couple times.
I think personally a game that could have done something like Dark Souls in the terms of how it's structured was Destiny 2, but then they threw that away within first couple of months. But Destiny 2 had a very good start, and that's all I'm going to bring up Destiny 2 for the rest of the stream. That's all I'm saying. Because I know that game is controversial in some circles.
Well, I don't know much about Destiny 2. I played the first game on PlayStation 4 because it came with my PlayStation 4 type deal. Because I had the white edition. And it was one of those things of, I really, really enjoyed it, but I didn't find myself wanting to keep playing it after a certain point.
Yeah, you get burned out. Like, you can only kill the same boss in like raids so many times. You can only do this strike so many times before you want to throw your computer out the window and just go and load a Minecraft or something. I don't know.
Right.
We have RuneScape.
Hey, RuneScape's been fun. You played a good little stint of RuneScape in there. You was getting some level 40 stats in there.
I was, and then homework happened, and then free time disappeared.
Yeah. See, that's the cool thing about RuneScape, though, is if you wanted to do homework and play it, go do a skill like woodcutting or fishing, where all you have to do is click once, and then he'll sit there and do it for like 10 minutes, and you can do homework, and then just click once. And like, there's a lot of skills that are click it once and let him do his thing, and then, you know, just a couple clicks.
Yeah. That's why I think it's a very interesting game.
Oh, yeah. I do a lot of those skills on my phone because they got the mobile edition of RuneScape. So.
Yep. Something else, this is kind of like a fringe topic since we're talking about RuneScape. I very much enjoy looking at how the economies of MMOs function. Like, I keep track on a whole bunch of popular MMOs and how their economy functions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, New World, for example, they shut down a player trade because the economy was so inflated and just destroyed that there's like no more trading gold. It's basically useless. I think it's very interesting how MMO economies work because it gives you a fresh look into how actual economies work.
Yeah, and what was interesting, and you bring up the economy thing, and there's been a recent change to RuneScape's economy. They recently added a tax to the Grand Exchange, and they have started this buyout program thing for certain items. Some of the high-end, hard-to-find, expensive items are now being bought by the company and then deleted from the game, making them more scarce. And it is a very strange thing for that to happen, because it has made the economy on there fluctuate by a ton. I've been very surprised by how it's changed.
To answer the dude in chat, EVE Online does actually have a lot of real-world implications.
Oh yeah,
it's a very realistic economy. Like, I remember reading like this one article a while ago about how there were battles between casinos that were costing like hundreds of thousands of real-world dollars in in-game items that were lost.
Yep.
EVE is this whole different genie in a bottle for that.
Yeah, EVE's another game that I don't know a lot about, except that I know what kind of game it is, but that's about it.
It's interesting. That's all. I've played it for a bit. I liked it, but I don't see myself going back to it.
Oh yeah, I don't play too many MMOs. I never really want to sink myself into a grind. If I do, I play RuneScape. Like, RuneScape is as much of a grind as I'd ever really want to do. So I usually steer away from heavy grinding games.
Speaking of grinding, for probably 3 years, I've been trying to find a game that I can, like, play a lot. Like, I don't even know. I want to find, like, because right now I just kind of skip around from game to game. Like, I don't focus on one game. I haven't gotten really good at that. And that was because a very funny thing happened, which was, I'm going to bring up the cursed game. Brimthen might know what this is, Fortnite. Back in the early days.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to bring it up very briefly. Back in the early days, it was very fun, and then all the, like, 3-year-olds joined, and then it became unfun anymore. And I played that game so much, I still have very good memories of that, but after that, I'm still kind of trying to find a new game, because I thought Fortnite was going to be it, because how fun it was, and then all the screaming 3-year-olds joined, so yeah, I've been hopping around.
I played apparently Season 2 of Fortnite. I was there before the Battle Royale was even created. So Chapter 1, Season 2 is basically when I started playing the Battle Royale thing. And even then, I was just not really impressed with it, and I gave it a try. I gave it a legitimate try, but I preferred Save the World more than the Battle Royale thing. I've never really enjoyed many Battle Royale games. I played some Warzone. I thought it was pretty good. I did really well Season 2 on it as well. Played a little bit of Apex Legends, but I never find myself wanting to really go back to Battle Royale games for some reason. It's just not my cup of tea, but I always give them a try even when new ones come out.
Yeah, that's a thing with Battle Royale games for me. Like, I like them, but at the same time, what keeps me coming back to a game is what I'm building towards. Like, I have a project and I set my eyes on that project and I work on that project. In a Battle Royale, there isn't really that, you know. Everything's fast, everything's, you know, you try to win this round and then you go to the next round. And there's never, you always just try to, there's just one goal that you always have to go for, but that goal is repetitive every single time. Like like a game like Minecraft, you know, you have your goal of getting diamond armor, and now you get nether armor, and now you get automatic farms, and then you get, you know, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
But, you know, with Battle Royale games, you know, it's just trying to get wins. And it's fun, but gets repetitive pretty fast.
To speak on Sir Baldus's note, I disagree with the idea that competitive gaming destroyed casual gaming. I think certain games were designed to be competitive, is the idea. You know, if you take League of Legends, it's a format where it's team versus team. it was always going to be competitive. Same thing with CS:GO, same thing with Rainbow Six Siege, and Fortnite. It had a casual setting, and then it created a kind of competitive setting. But there's still that casual setting. It's never really went away. You can still play the casual side of things. Even Minecraft can be competitive, because if you go, you can play the normal casual kind of game that is Minecraft, but then you can go off and play, what is it? Bed Wars is the name of it, I think. And some of the other like highly competitive game modes that they have that's been made by the community. To say competitive gaming has destroyed casual gaming turns a blind eye to Animal Crossing, which is a very much not a competitive game, unless you count Turnip Wars and everything, but that's besides the point. There's a lot of casual games out there that are just purely experiences. They're still making stuff. A great example is Inscription was just recently made. It's a very casual game, in my opinion. So I really disagree a little bit on it. I think that most of the gamers is to kind of blame on that more so than companies, if it is a problem, because gamers in general are always looking to be semi-competitive or kind of show their skill in a game type deal. Even Dark Souls, I would call Dark Souls a casual experience despite being difficult, but there's a PvP scene, there's a very competitive scene behind it. So I don't know if competitive gaming has truly destroyed casual gaming. I think the real issue in gaming culture right now is hype gaming, which I talked a lot about on the Nance podcast, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on it either. But I think hype gaming is the real true boogeyman in the industry right now, for both players and companies.
Quickly to touch on what Very Pug Life 2-8 said in chat. Yes, most games do self-destruct whenever the companies figure out, wait a second, we can just re-release the same update with different textures and then sell skins to make billions.
I love roguelike games, Pug. Binding of Isaac is one of my favorite games that was ever been created, as far as roguelikes are concerned. I played Enter the Gungeon a little bit. I think it's a very neat experience to have a randomly generated levels as you go through, and every time you play it is going to be a different kind of experience, so to speak. I'd like to see some more. I would love to see like a Dark Souls roguelike where it's a third-person RPG with everything that is Dark Souls, but the level is super randomly generated, the enemies are super randomly generated, the items you can find is randomly generated. I'd love to see something like that, because that would be a game that I would probably never stop playing. Just because it'd be so different every time.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing to play.
Yeah, but I say that about a lot of things just because I like Souls-like games, I to put it simply, I want everything to be more like Dark Souls. Yeah, I would love a Binding of Isaac Dark Souls edition. I have not played Risk of Rain 1 or 2. No. But back to our guest here. I know that let's see. I know you're big into Risk of Rain and a lot of the MMO games and whatnot. What attracts you mostly to them? Not MMOs, but the top-down army games.
Strategy games?
Yeah.
Strategy games. Oh boy, it's time to address my addiction.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Hearts of Iron 4. It's the main game I play.
That's it. That's the one.
The reason I like Hearts of Iron 4 is really a big category of reasons. One, I'm a huge history nerd. I love learning about history of World War II and World War One, because World War One has so much relevance to today, and I'm not going to be specific, just conflicts in the Middle East. The Middle East was created by the British Empire. That's all I'm saying. The issues in that were created by the British Empire, and they're exacerbated by it. I'm not going to touch on it again. And Hearts of Iron 4 is the game about World War II, and it does very well of kind of... It's a good mix between casual and competitive, because it's the history, but, you know, you take control of a nation and you control it. But you can do anything you want. Like, you can take Luxembourg from being an insignificant speck right below Belgium to the powerhouse of Europe, if you're good enough. You can take Spain from being ravaged by civil wars to dominating the Mediterranean and taking back most of the territory of the former Roman Empire. You can do so much, and some people say it's a bad game, and they'd be right. But then there were new DLCs, and those DLCs really made the game... Hearts of Iron 4 was at kind of a dying point recently before the new DLC, and the new DLC came out and made it so that strategy was actually a viable option, because before it was just you'd do the same thing every single game, you'd get this ideal division that was perfect because of how the game worked, physics I'm not going to explain, and then you just make a whole bunch of those divisions and you just win, because the AI didn't know how to counter that. In the most recent DLC, the AI is still brain dead as it was. They do not know how to do anything, but they added logistics, which makes it so that there's actual strategic reasons to go for smaller cities instead of just going for all the major cities like, you know, Stalingrad or Leningrad. There's actually reasons to go for the smaller cities because where railway hubs are, and it makes it so that the enemy is weakened, which adds a whole bunch of different strategies. So you actually have to think about what you're doing instead of just clicking 4 buttons and winning the game instantly. And that's why I love the game. It's just, it's very, I don't know how to describe it. It's just good. It feels good.
I entirely understand what you're going for on that, because I have went back and said this, because when I was 14, 15, 16, somewhere right in there, I used to play Civilization 3. And Civilization 3 was super focused on the history of each one of the countries and everything. And I learned so much about history just from that one game, you know, about Persian immortals and the different, you know, stuff that each country was good at and what they were known for and their history, because they had these little blurbs about them. And I would go on and on and on about them. And I learned so much of history through gaming. And this was during the time period where people really didn't like gaming, that there was a lot of, you know, pushes about gaming is bad for kids and that it's, you know, whatever, back in them days. And I was always fighting against that, because, man, like, there were games out there that I learned more from the game itself than I did ever at school. And to speak on one other thing that you mentioned earlier, I disagree. Luxembourg is not just some speck. It is the second richest country in the world. They have a per capita GDP of 92,000. They have the highest minimum wage in the EU. They're considered one of the safest countries in the world. Their workforce commutes to work from another country. The restaurant in it has, one of the restaurants in it has the world's largest wine list. To date, the let's see, what else did I have here? That was it. I tried to pull up a Google Docs about how good Luxembourg is.
You see, that's now how Hoi 4 works, because Luxembourg has like 2 factories and 3 people living there. Not 3, but it has no one living there.
Nah, the place with literally nobody living in it is Wyoming, the entire state.
Oh, that's just... Okay, there's a clip of Garfield saying, proving that Wyoming does not exist by saying, have you ever met anyone from Wyoming? Therefore, it does not exist.
I went to Wyoming, and I met 2 people, and that was about it. The entire state is maybe 4 people at most.
I had to go to Wyoming for a school trip, and we went to like this town, and the tallest building in town was a McDonald's.
That's what I'm talking about, man. I love it. But I loved Wyoming. It was Here's the thing, TMA, about the Montana thing. Wyoming is genuinely the lowest population state, or I think it's maybe the second lowest, something like that. I think it even has less than Alaska, which is saying something. Like, when Alaska has more people than you.
Pretty sure Anchorage, Alaska might have more people than the entirety of Wyoming.
I used to know somebody from Montana, actually. But on the Wyoming thing, I went there to help paint one of my college professors' houses and to do some hiking and whatnot. And it was an absolute blast. Buffalo, Wyoming, if you ever had a chance to like look at that place and just like view how beautiful that area is, Bullhorn Mountain is so beautiful.
So, on the population of Wyoming, Anchorage, Alaska's population is around 300,000 people.
Yeah.
And the entirety of Wyoming is around 579,000 people.
Exactly. 5 people live in Wyoming.
5.79 people live in Wyoming.
Yeah, that's right.
7.9 was some dude that got stuck in a wood chipper.
Yeah. To all the fans out there that live in Wyoming, just know that I love you guys, and you guys have a beautiful state. And I will be back there sometime. But yeah, no, I love traveling. I love hiking. I love going and looking at, mountains. Mountains are my favorite thing in the world. That's one of the reasons why I'm so blessed to be living in the Smoky Mountains. You will almost never find more beautiful mountains than here in the Smoky Mountain Range, in my opinion.
Well, actually, the Smoky Mountain Range is almost directly connected to mountain ranges in Sweden and Norway, so I think we can. Because before the continents split apart, they were connected.
The entire view count is more than Wyoming right now. Oh, that was good, Cervantes. That was good. Oh, my Lord. But anyway, let's see. What else is there? What direction do you want to go with your channel? Like, what kind of art and theming do you want to go?
Well, I have about 50,000 ideas, and all of them are in complete opposite directions of each other. So we're gonna go with the one that I'm probably gonna do, which is a kind of a military history themed one. Like, you have your wizard tower and all your spell books and the moon that has like clouds circling around it. And I'm either going to do two things. I'm either going to be like kind of military history, but still pretty chill, or just full on just vibing, and that's it. Because I am a very chill person. Okay, I don't really get worked up too much. I just kind of chill and listen to music. That's basically what I do all day. And do homework, but not so much.
Hey, that is a good way to go about things, if you ask me. The more, chill someone can be, usually the happier they can be, oftentimes.
I think it's a very valuable trait to have, to be able to... Let me just say this. In streaming, I have one goal in streaming. If I do that, I'm done. I'm good. My one goal is for some dude to have a really crappy day at school or work, come into my chat and be like, I had a crappy day, and we'll just chill and play some video games and listen to some good music.
That's right. And that is the same vibe that I try to go for all of my stuff. I want, just like you're doing with that, I want my content to be a place for people to come and just like take their mind off of whatever it is, if it's work, it's school, parents, issues with something. I just want it to be a place for people to hang out, vibe, maybe laugh a little, take their mind off of the stresses of life. And I think that is a very valuable thing, and I highly respect that you're going in that direction as well. Yeah.
Funny thing about streaming, actually, my end goal in life is to was to try to find a way to get the government to pay me and just chill at home and play MMOs with the boys. And I feel like I can't do that. So I'm gonna have to resort to streaming.
Right. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a chef, and then it became wanting to be a game designer, and life just finds a way of kicking some dreams to the curb. But what I've always been kind of good at is trying to entertain people. You know, I was always trying to make people laugh in school. I am terrible. I am very bad at handling sick and dying. Like, I am not the person to call with, you know, if it's inevitables, you know what I mean? I'm always optimistic. I'm always trying to push this optimism and that it's going to be okay. And sometimes it's not. And I'm not the best person to talk to when it comes to those moments. But outside of those moments, like, I've always tried to comfort people as much as I can and entertain them. And, you know, streaming is just a great gateway to help people in that side of things.
So, funny thing about what you just said, the beginning part of it is basically exactly what I had. I wanted to be a chef, I wanted to be a game designer, and then I'm streaming now. My dad cooks a lot, and he cooks a lot of brisket, and from my little window I can see the grill, and right now he's out there giving me a death stare while I look at him directly in the eyes while he's making brisket.
Brisket, I love brisket.
So pretty soon I might be leaving to go eat some of that, but
no doubt, no doubt. I would want to leave to go get some brisket as well. I can't blame you. When I was in preschool, they had this lineup of jobs, and it was like fireman, policeman, doctor, and then just the odd one out was chef. And there would be this little mirror where the face was supposed to go, and it would be their outfit. And me, all the other kids would walk up and be like, I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to be a policeman. I'm going to be a, you know, whatever. And I would go up, and the only one I would hardly ever go up to was chef, because I was just like, this looks cool. And I would always play with like the food things. And then RuneScape reinforced it even more because of the cooking skill. I have actually taken one of the recipes from RuneScape and duplicated it. I was like 14, and I got all the ingredients for the chocolate bomb. And I even got a cake pan that was like shaped like a bowl to make this chocolate bomb. And I just filled it like it was on the game and tried to make it look as close as I could. And it was awesome. And ever since then, I wanted to be a chef. So it's a really big hobby of mine.
So, not as uplifting as that, but I don't remember much from pre-K, but I remember that one of my teachers was French. And she basically told us, she sat us all down one day, like the day before she left, and told all of these, like, I don't even know, like, probably 5 or 6-year-old children, and told them, not pre-K, like first grade, I meant to say that. She told all, like, these first graders, like, deadpan expression, told us that to get a realistic job, and she told us all we're going to be garbage people, and then she quit the next day. Which, garbage people are respectable, man. They get paid really well.
Some people are miserable and will always be miserable. And they will try to spread that misery to other people. And that's kind of what it sounds like for that pre-K teacher, because at the end of the day, nobody under the age of really 15 really knows what their life is going to be like.
Yep.
Like, everything changes. I was actually having this discussion because I'm an uncle. I've got 3 nieces and a nephew, and without having any kids of my own, I've kind of got to watch them grow up and stuff. And it is a vast difference that a year makes for kids. Like, the difference between a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old is almost night and day. Difference between a 12 and a 13 is night and day. You know, even to the 15, 16, 17, like a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, vastly different people, vastly different personalities. It is so funny to watch how people just 1 year later have changed so much in their demeanor, maturity. Now that changes roughly when you get to be 20. 20 and a 21-year-old is basically the same depressed, overworked person. When you get into the working world, your personality changes. and everybody kind of gets beat down. and everybody starts looking the same regardless of what year they are. So, which is hilarious. But yeah, there's such a difference in ages and stuff. Meanwhile, Nas is over here like, I'm an unaged cat god. Oh man. But anyway, and even with you, I've watched you and your personality change a lot in just a year, man. I'm telling you. I think you have really embraced this idea of taking streaming seriously, and it's an actual goal for you. And I admire that. I think you're going to go great places with it.
My ceiling's dripping. That's not good. All right, I'll have to fix that. I'll just put some duct tape on and forget about it. But it'll be fine. Don't worry.
It means there's a water source block above it.
Yeah, I can probably get some. I can probably make an AFK fish farm from down here. I cut a little hole in the ceiling. Might be able to throw a fishing rod up there.
There you go.
Get a couple of mending books, maybe.
Or do like our D&D sessions go and just start shooting rock fists into the ceiling. Oh, Lord. But anyway, well, I don't have too many other questions for you. Do you have anything you want to ask me on? And if there's anything chat would like to ask, feel free to throw some questions out there for Ace.
So, this is a question to everyone in chat and Brim. Okay. Do you think that there's a hive mind controlling the people in chat? Whenever you open up your Twitch account and go to chat, you think a hive mind takes control of your brain?
I think we are all living in a computer simulation, and I'm the only sentient person on the planet, and everybody else is just these robots that are trying to test me and tempt me into doing evil things.
He knows too much. Put him down. Cancel the simulation. Get him out of the Matrix.
But
here's some background noise. My dad's knocking on the window. So
solipsism. Yep. Hey, it's all good, man. Did you say you needed a second, or you're? Oh yeah, I guess he needed a second. Anyway. Kudos to Mr. Havoc for being the first person on the stream today. We have a new channel point redeemed down at the bottom, dedicated to whoever is going to end up being first on the channel. For 42 channel points, you can redeem that you were the first one here. Just letting y'all know. Since Ace is a history fan, well, we should probably wait for Ace to be back.
I'm back.
Awesome. Since you are a history fan...
They burned the brisket.
No, they burned it? Really? That sucks.
He burnt the brisket.
Oof.
I don't know how. He's never burnt a brisket before, and he's very upset.
Carve it off. What is your favorite civilization and why?
My favorite civilization.
And what would you change about them, apparently, as well?
I would choose... Ooh. That's a good one. That's a very good question. Okay. Any time period or a specific time period?
Any time period, yeah. I'm sure that's fine.
I would pick... I'd pick the Ottoman Empire.
Ottomans? That's an interesting one.
What I'd change about them is that during the First World War, they would realize that they weren't going to win and realize that the British were probably going to do bad things to the Middle East and then partition the Middle East along reasonable borders and not just let's draw random lines here and figure it out. And I think that could have saved millions of lives.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. Actually, no, that makes sense.
That'd be my thing.
I've never thought of it that way. Actually, that's a very interesting way of putting that. Huh. Those were such strange times too in the world. Like, so much was going on at one time. I'm sure many countries was having kind of almost existential crises of their own, trying to figure out what would be the proper course of action to go about, you know. I have no doubt that the debates and conversations were just extremely heated and extremely stressed, you know. It's that period in history is such a difficult one to really judge because we have the benefit of hindsight, you know. Man, it's such an entirely different mindset back then too.
Quick thing, if you ever want a good piece of evidence for time travel, look at the 1990s to the 1910s. In that time period, the entire world flipped. The USA was kind of starting to go into a bit of a decline, and Brazil was starting to rise. And then by 1910, Brazil was out of the picture. Like, modern historians think that Brazil could have been a global power because of their previous leader, Pedro. I think it was Pedro II, was such an incredible leader that he brought Brazil from basically the brink of collapse to positioning it to be, you know, contending with the British Empire and the German Empire. And then a secession crisis, whenever he died, a secession crisis happened, and there was revolutions, and the country never got to see it. And then the USA suddenly turned on a dime and started shooting up in, you know, economic strength. So, and that happened around the same time period. So all I'm saying is conspiracy theories, yeah.
Yeah, that Pedro thing you brought up was a pseudo golden age for them as well, and a lot of golden ages end up with a recession or even depression afterwards. Sadly enough, because they burn so much of their energy out. Mm-hmm. What is the worst video game experience you've ever had, and why? Same with the best.
Worst. Ooh, that's a good one. I want to say it's a game. Let me see if I'm getting the name right.
I can say mine while you're researching it real quick.
Yeah, you can say yours. It's going to take me a bit to find it.
For me, it was Brink. It was a game that I was extremely hyped up for about a year. Me and Zalost was always watching the trailers and even going frame by frame to figure out what was going on. We kind of, it's a little bit of our own fault that we hyped ourselves up so hard, but their marketing was really good. They hyped up the game really nicely. It was a Mirror's Edge shooter game, and we were just like super big into it. We pre-ordered the special editions and all that kind of jazz, and we were there for the launch day, you know, playing it at midnight. And it was a absolute like just failure. Within a day and a half or 2 days, we had already had platinums. There was nothing else to do in the game. There was maybe 15 hours of gameplay for, at the time, for the premium edition was an $80 game. And it just didn't, it was lacking a lot of stuff that the developers kind of promised. And it just wasn't the smoothest game. And while I enjoyed my experience, it was something that you couldn't keep enjoying. And because we were so hyped on it, we ended up returning it that week. And then, you know, that's just Brink in a nutshell. Meanwhile, with the best game experience I've ever had, and will always be Dark Souls for reasons that I have stated in the past. I got hyped up on it. I was watching Zalost play it, and it just kept giving. It was a game that has given me thousands of hours of enjoyment. And honestly, I would say Dark Souls has honestly changed my life a little bit because it taught me so many different disciplines that I didn't have. It really taught me to slow down, take my time, and have patience and determination.
As of for me, I'd say the worst gaming experience I ever had. A game called... I have two. One of them doesn't really make much sense. I don't know why I bought it. I regret it, and it was bad. Called Metal Gear Survive. And it was just poorly made. Wasn't very good. Storyline was non-existent. And the second one was a game that I think had a lot of potential, but the company owning it messed it up so incredibly bad, and that was Fallout 76. I think it had so much potential, but Bethesda worked their developers for every single penny that they had and then asked for more. They gave them almost no time to actually develop the game. They just kind of forced them. I think it was like 4 months of actual development went down for the game before release, and the developers were given a whole bunch of flack for basically not knowing what was going on until there were 4 months till the deadline. I would have said No Man's Sky, but like the release state, but right now No Man's Sky is possibly one of my favorite games, just because of how good they've made it. The developers, Hello Games, did something that I don't think any other modern developer has really done, which is they, instead of dropping the game and making a new one, or just like abandoning the project, they actually sat down and fixed it, which is something that like you'll never see Call of Duty ever do that. You'll never see big developers ever do that. But to these dudes, they actually wanted the game to be good. It was about the money, but they still wanted the game to be good.
Yeah.
And for my favorite game of all time, Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That was there are a list of 3 games that made me cry, and that was the first game that made me cry in the very end. It was an amazing game. 10 out of 10. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. I think it comes out in February. I pray it's as good as the original. It's an incredible game.
I could see both of those. Breath of the Wild is an amazing, solid experience. And it honestly has the dance that Dark Souls does, because you can't really take on every enemy the same way. You've got to kind of go about it in a different kind of way each time. But Fallout 76, in my opinion, is your all's generation's Brink. Like, Brink wasn't really a named game, but Fallout is a big name. You have expectations going into it. A lot of people had expectations for Fallout 76 that they didn't deliver on. And like you said, it was rushed. You know, it was something that you just, you know, can't really help, because once you start rushing game developers, it ends up being absolutely terrible. And that's what happened with what was my favorite series, Resistance: The Fall of Man. They rushed the third game while being a beautiful, wonderful example of what the PS3 could do. Resistance 3 fell short on so many gameplay problems. But I do want to go back and play it again, because I gave it that one time and I got mad at it and I never played it again. And I really do need to go back and play that at some point, which is something I plan on doing on the channel eventually. But yeah, favorite history, hero or villain, president, dictator, king, marauder so far. I'll go ahead and get mine right off the bat. Alexander the Great, he won every war that he fought. Great personality of a guy.
Yeah, he was an interesting fellow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. As for me, that's a good one.
There's a lot of good picks out there.
Because my history teacher has taught me many things, and one of the things he's taught me is that pretty much no history no person in history is ever good or bad. They're always a mix of both. So no matter what you say, it's going to be controversial. So no matter what I say, someone on Twitter is going to get mad. So I figured I'm just going to go with an honest opinion. I'd say... Ooh. What's his name? I can't remember this dude's name. He was the leader of Persia during their golden age. And at the time,
Xerxes?
No, not Xerxes. He was during the Byzantine Empire, during the reign of Justinian. I think his name started with like a K. Kavad, maybe. It was Kavad, or was that his dad?
Cyrus the Great.
No. Anushirwan. I think that was his name. At the time, he was known for having a high tolerance of other religions in his empire, and at the time, even today, he was known of having a very much basically, if he conquered your territory, it wouldn't be like a brutal oppression. Oh, it's November? Okay. He didn't brutally oppress the territories that he conquered. He would basically give them a choice, which was pay us taxes and we'll let you do whatever you want, just pay us taxes and chill. And if you didn't, they'd burn down your city, but pretty much everyone did at that point.
The one that started their golden age was Darius the Great.
It was?
Yeah. Huh. He's the one that beat out Xerxes and started their major revolution, so to speak.
Wasn't Xerxes... This was not at the time of this wasn't... I don't think we're thinking the same time period. Because wasn't Xerxes with the Battle of Thermopylae? Wasn't he...
Which battle were you associating with the Emperor?
The Battle of Thermopylae with the 300 Spartans and their 1,100 other friends.
Yeah, no, that's Xerxes, but I'm talking about the one that you're trying to remember the name for.
I remember his name. His name is Anushirwan. Well, I can't remember how to spell it. Byzantine Empire, reign of Justinian, that same time period. But he was known for, being a generous person. He didn't kill everyone. He had mercy. And back then that was a big thing because, the Roman Empire, which was the center of the world at that point, one of the centers of the world, had just fallen within 60 years beforehand. And everyone is still trying to pick up the pieces. And brutality, the population of Europe dropped by as much as a quarter due to disease and just wars. And I don't really know how to explain it because there's so much background history to him. Let me just say at the time, he was a very decent person. There's no good or bad people. There are no good people in history. And to answer Sobalis' question, I do believe history repeats itself, and 2020 was a perfect example of that. We had the repeat of the early 19th century with the killing of a major general, a major disease outbreak, and the only thing that didn't happen was a global war. We were able to avoid that, but we were very close to it. And the counterpart with that would be the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which led to World War I, as many of you know, and the horrific, almost apocalyptic 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, which killed upwards of 100 million people. Some people think it's a million. The Spanish flu is a whole other thing. Lowest estimates are 17 million, highest estimates are 100 million plus. Let me quickly... sure one.
Achaemenid is the one at 525 for the Justinian Empire age. 525 BC.
That might be him. Let me...
Because I don't recognize the name. I don't see the name in the list of emperors for Persia that you're mentioning.
Give me a second. Let me try to find him real quick.
But anyway, jumping slightly off of that topic because we should probably be wrapping up. I ask everybody this every single time. Do you watch any anime?
Ooh, that's a good question. I used to. I watched a couple, not because I don't really like anime personally. I don't really see what's the big buzz about it. I don't really see why everyone likes it. I watched like 3 animes so I could relate to people in my friend group. I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is the only anime I kind of liked. I watched like most of JoJo so I could understand what people were talking about. And I cannot remember what the third one was. It was like 2 episodes of some other anime, and I just kind of stopped.
That is a very strange list to go off of for anime, in my opinion.
I'm just watching because they're going to what other people talk about. I don't really have some people have like big issues with people that like anime. I don't really have an issue with that. Like, as long as you don't make it like really annoying that everything you ever do is centered around anime, I don't really like. It's fine.
Yeah, I have a firm belief of, enjoy what you enjoy, and if you enjoy it, stick with it. Don't let other people's opinions of it bother you too much. You know what I mean? If it's good and you like it, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But I do recommend watching Redline at least once. It's a movie, so you don't even have to invest too much time into it. But it's on Amazon Prime, and it is, in my opinion, a great representation of what anime can really do. But the list that you just gave me, there are a lot better animes out there, so to speak. JoJo is really just a joke on the entire industry, and that's what they're going for, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's definitely not what I would tell someone getting brand new into anime to go and watch, so to speak.
I watched all the parts, and I regret it, and I don't understand it, and I don't remember it. And I think that's for the better. All I remember is just wacky.
It's making fun of tropes that are throughout other animes that are trying to do those tropes seriously.
Okay.
It's a joke on tropes in general. More for people that want to kind of laugh at the absurdity of some stuff, so to speak. Go ahead.
As my closing question, I was going to ask you, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, well, my favorite anime movie, because I got to break it into 2 different types. My favorite anime movie will always be Redline, and I suggest it to people that don't like anime. I've made all of my family watch it, and even my dad and mom who don't like anime at all really found joy in watching it because it's hand drawn 250,000 images. And if you like cars, you like racing, you like engines at all, it is an absolute just pleasure to watch because the way they handle momentum is just amazing. And I suggest it to artists to glean, ways of using motion and ways of using momentum because it is a great love letter to animation in general. However, my favorite movie of all time is a bit of an obscure one that not many people have probably heard of. It's called Diary of the Dead. I hate Blair Witch Project style filming, Cloverfield style filming, where the person has a shaky cam. I like to call them shaky cams. But Diary of the Dead, despite being one of those style of films, immediately starts the film off with an explanation of why he doesn't have as shaky of a hand, and that's because he's a professional photographer who has been put into zombie apocalypse, so to speak. and he has a steady hand even in stressful situations, but they just lightly put it in there, like when he's running and that kind of stuff. Because I hate a shaky camera on a movie. But the story of Diary of the Dead, the way that they show zombies, is a very, what I would say, accurate representation of how a zombie apocalypse would end up going for somebody put in his location with his stuff. I've toted it for a long time as the most accurate kind of zombie movie that would be out there. And I love zombies. I've watched almost every zombie movie out there. I could sit and talk about zombies all day long. But Diary of the Dead has got a very special place in my heart because the film style, the acting, really puts in perspective what it would be almost genuinely like if it just suddenly happened to a group of people that never thought it would happen. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. As for me, I'd say my favorite movie is either... It's a tie between... The Hunt for Red October, and
Ooh.
I love that movie, absolutely love it. Haven't watched it in a while, though. And Saving Private Ryan.
Another good movie.
I think Saving Private Ryan does it very well because of how realistic it is. You know, you getting down the nitty gritty. It's not like some overhead shot of some dudes running at machine guns. You're down there with them. You're getting mud all over the camera. You know, you see dudes getting their arms blown off. It's very intense. And for The Hunt for Red October, I think the character development is very good, you know. You really feel like you're there. You feel like you know these people that are on this submarine, you know. It's just very good. It's very hard for me to explain why I like something. I just say it's good. Because in the very end, I'm not a good person with words. I like something, and it's good, and I suggest it. If you haven't watched Saving Private Ryan or Hunt for Red October, I suggest you watch them both. Don't eat while watching Saving Private Ryan. I made a mistake.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that's my question, and yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast here. We have had many great conversations in my DMs and just talking back and forth. I think this went really well, and if you have any final closing remarks or stuff that you would like to tell people, this is a great opportunity. You are the third episode of Season 2, I believe, so there's a good chance that some people that are looking onto this in the past on YouTube might get to see you. So this is your moment to tell people who you are, where to find you, and what you do.
I'm o7Ace. I'm o7Ace. I already messed that up. You can find me at twitch.tv/o7Ace. That's an O, not a 0. I do streams occasionally. Sometimes, if I feel like it. And, yeah, if you want to have a fun time, just kind of chill, come on down. We'd love to have you.
Oh, yeah.
And, if there are any time travelers watching this, feel free
oh my God.
come over to my house at, on the 29th of January, 2022. We're going to have the time traveler party, you know.
Yeah, any other time travelers that's watching, please go back and tell me when I was in Kentucky to buy some Bitcoin, because I had a little bit of money. I was sitting there, I was thinking about buying some Bitcoin, and I wish I bought some Bitcoin. You can't edit the timeline. You can't edit the timeline. I'm just saying. The money goes to a good cause, because I could further all of this. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Thank you to o7Ace for hanging out with us today. Stay tuned for the next episode, and peace.